Generating traffic and sales can be a challenge for online merchants. But selling on the Walmart Marketplace puts your products in front of millions of customers who shop on Walmart.com. And right now, sellers who join Walmart Marketplace can save up to 50% on referral and fulfillment fees for the first 90 days. So get started today. Head over to marketplace.walmart.com/savings. That's marketplace.walmart.com/savings.
Welcome to E-Commerce Conversations, a podcast by Practical E-Commerce.
What is going on, Internet? Eric Van Holtz back again with another E-Commerce Conversations. I hope all's going well on the other side of the Internet. On the other side of the table from me, Josh McKee, Atlas Staffing. Welcome, man.
Good afternoon.
How's it going?
It's going well. Just got a tour of the Beard Brand digs here, and I like it.
Yeah, we call it the Beard Brand campus because we got like 3 buildings and a little yard. And
it's big time. It's
barbershop.
awesome. Friendly people, beautiful stuff. I love it.
Guys, I am super excited to bring Josh onto the show here in town because many people do not know this, but Josh was one of the co-founders of Beard Brand.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for my check.
I gave you that check. I gave you that check a long time ago. Josh, the reason he's not with Beard Brand now is because he has built a mini empire in the Pacific Northwest with Atlas Staffing. Why don't you give our listeners what you've done over the past, it's been 9 years now.
Yeah, we've been in business now for 11 years. We're a light industrial staffing company. We have 5 locations across, the West really now. We just opened a location in Phoenix. It's our newest branch. And we have, offices throughout the Northwest as well. So, yeah, it's been a long, hard 11 years, but man, I'm proud of what we've built.
Yeah. Some of you people may be like, what does Josh have to do with e-commerce? And the reality is like e-commerce is business and business is people. And I brought Eamon onto the show a couple episodes ago and he talked about, kind of from like 0 million to 5 million, it's kind of a product market fit issue, like figuring out what works for bringing on customers. But like, from half 7 figures on up, it's a people problem. And like, how do you grow that team? How do you manage that team? And, like, how do you give them the performance? So you and I are both like big fans of EOS, right? You still do EOS?
Yeah, EOS. Yeah. The entrepreneurial operating system. Yeah, absolutely.
You went so far as to try to create a business.
Yeah, we did. We failed at that too. Thanks for bringing it up.
Well, I think that's the thing that
I thought you were supposed to make me look credible, Eric.
I think the best entrepreneurs are the ones that have wakes of failures behind them because that shows how they could persevere through them.
Then I'm one of the best.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah, we're a big believer in the entrepreneurial operating system. We've implemented it years and years ago in our business, and it was a really important first step for us to start to professionalize the way we manage the business, right? And so, getting a meeting cadence, really getting serious and intentional about goals, making sure that those goals flow to everybody in the business has been really core to, I believe, where we're at today. I don't think we could have done what we've done without it. So,
well, when I think of like, the similarities to what you're building, you have 5 different locations. This would not be unsimilar to an e-commerce brand aggregator where they have 5 different e-commerce businesses. How do you manage and keep those core values the same between all the offices, and how much freedom do you give them to kind of like branch out beyond, kind of like maybe those core brands of the Spokane office?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that one of the things for us is, just creating as much clarity around who you are as a business as possible. We are over communicating that all the time. I mean, we have really clear core values and core behaviors associated with those things. We expect people to follow those things.
What does that over communication look like? Is that daily meetings? Is it just like
depending
posters on the wall?
Yeah, it's not just posters, although we have posters. It's really depends on the level of the business that you're in. So for the rank and file folks, the ones that the producers at the branch level, we meet every day. We have a huddle, just like the EOS prescribes. We have our weekly pulses on the Monday mornings, just like the EOS prescribes. And during those meetings, we're talking about our values, right? We want people to bring stories about people that they're working with who have embodied those values. And we're celebrating those values when we hear those stories. We're making sure that they're getting shared across on, our company intranet, all that stuff, that we're always celebrating it when people promote our values and live out the values and the behaviors that we ask them to do. So we're really prescriptive when it comes to that stuff. As far as the freedom that we allow, really, we just try to create parameters and say, this is what we expect from a behaviors and values standpoint, and this is the goal, and this is the core process, right? We have our core process. If you're following those, everything else is up to you. Like, we want people to express sort of their uniqueness and who they are, because, man, we learn a ton from people. We don't hold the keys to the kingdom and have all the wisdom in the world. We're not a command and control in that sense. And so we want to see people take risks, fail, make choices that maybe we wouldn't make, and see how it works out. We know what we know, though. We know what values and behaviors do help a recruiter be successful. And so we want to make sure that those are entrenched very early on, inculcated very early on in someone's employment with Atlas.
What are those core values?
Yeah, so my favorite one I'll start with is embrace a growth mindset. So a lot of these have stories behind them or specific literature that we've, required reading within the business. So the one that's tied with embrace a growth mindset is Carol Dweck's book, Mindset. And really, it's not about like growth in the sense of financial growth. It's really about how you look at challenge and obstacles in your life. And so a growth mindset is a person who finds deep meaning in the journey and looks at failure as an opportunity to learn and as a stepping stone to the next success or the next failure even. And so we really want people to have that mindset that's like, it's okay to kind of mix it up, fall short, learn from it, and move forward. Bias to action is another one. Really, in the recruiting game, the recruiter acts first usually wins. And so we want to make sure that we're inculcating that very early on. Obsessed with customer success. So, making sure that we are always keeping the outcomes of the customer in front of us, because if you forget the customer in business, you're sort of missing the point, right? So that's really key. And then we have always protect the team. That one's fairly straightforward, but really we look at the team as the business. A rising tide lifts all boats, and we want to make sure that we're pouring into the business and we're putting in more than we take out. And if everybody does that, then everybody wins. No optionalism. That's a made-up word that we like because we really want to make sure people are committed to following through with their commitments and hitting their goals and keeping their promises.
What is
Optionalism.
Optionalism.
Yeah.
What is that?
Optionalism is like, I made a commitment, or I promised something, I would deliver something, but, something came up, so
Okay.
You get it, right?
No flaking.
Yeah. Don't be a flake,
Yeah.
basically. Take your goals seriously, these sorts of things.
Do what you say you're going to do.
Bingo. And then, got 6. Yeah, always protect the team, embrace a growth mindset, no optionalism, bias to action. I knew this was going to happen.
I put you on the spot.
You did. No. I have to. I will. We'll come back to it.
Well, here's the thing that I think is pretty interesting. At Beard Brand, our core values are freedom, hunger, and trust. I only have to remember three words.
Yeah.
You have to remember 6 phrases.
Right.
And, I wonder, how is your decision process? Because the phrases are a lot more clear and less open to interpretation.
Right.
Whereas what we've noticed with just having words, there can be kind of like multiple interpretations.
Yeah, we struggle with that too, even with the phrases.
Yeah.
And that's why part of the process for even our hiring process is, and that's what's hilarious about me forgetting, is I literally talk about these all the time. But, I'm nervous. I told you that before we got on. But yeah, I have a core values interview at the end of every interview process. And we sit down and we talk and we go through each one. It's partly for me to understand if they believe in these values and to see if they've embodied these values in their life. But it's also a chance for me to kind of share, what these mean. So this is who we are. This is what we will tolerate. This is what we won't. And so, that's a big part of it. And then that constant reinforcement within the business is key as well.
I love that bias towards action, because it's like, I'm trying to make a decision. What's the decision? What should I do? Well, quit worrying about it. Just do action.
Right.
Like, action is the answer. And whether or not it's right or wrong. I don't know if you have like, don't be afraid to fail or.
That really is embodied in that embrace a growth mindset, right?
Too, right?
Because when you embody that growth mindset, by virtue of that, you're okay with failure, right? You learn from the failure. Always take the stairs, get comfortable with the uncomfortable. That's another one. And we want people to do the hard thing first.
Mm-hmm.
It's really easy for folks in a production role to sort of chase what's easy in the moment. And again, I think a great recruiter requires, that they do those hard things. Eat the frog is another way we phrase it.
So always take the stairs. That's the sixth one.
Yeah.
I love that as well, because I feel like so many of a company's opportunities are doing the things that the other companies just aren't willing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like with Beard Brand, we always knew that having a crap ton of fragrance options and have those fragrances in all the products was just going to be really difficult. It's like it's a dumb thing to do because it's so hard.
Mm-hmm.
I say this after announcing that we're going to truncate our fragrance line down to 3, but it is, it is the opportunity. It's a way for you to stand out and kind of differentiate your business by doing those things. And then it's just like, it's like training.
Yeah.
The more you run, the faster you're going to get.
Yeah. Our core purpose is, giving opportunities to the people that need them, help our clients solve hard hiring challenges, and make a great living doing it. Right.
Yeah.
One of the things we've seen when it's gotten really, really difficult for companies to recruit in this environment, it's obviously everybody needs people, workers are scarce, especially in the light industrial field, is a lot of our competitors have really withdrawn from engaging in the market.
Yeah.
They've entrenched themselves with some core clients, and they're not selling and actively trying to find opportunity that's out there because it's difficult. They're afraid of what that means. They don't have confidence in their capability to solve those problems. And for us, we want that friction within the business, right? We're not going to grow if we're shying away from those challenges. And so, it's really important.
Within e-commerce, of course, like 3PLs and hiring pick and pack team members. And of course, a lot of e-commerce brands are manufacturers as well, developing those products. So I know from our perspective, working with our vendors and our manufacturers, that there have been staffing issues in our suppliers being able to deliver ways that they need to do, even if it is like in the world of COVID and quarantines, like how many of these companies are working with an agency to be able to fill these kind of like quarantine requirements where someone's going to be out for 10 days or 14 days.
Sure. Yeah. No, it's a huge problem. There's a ton of competition from companies like Amazon. Any of the excess labor pool that did exist at one point has been sopped up by the huge facilities they're building all over the place. And so you really need to partner with an expert, people who understand the labor market, people who can bring resources to bear to actually compete in that space with companies like Amazon. Obviously, Amazon's huge. I've heard some of the metrics about what they're spending per application, and it's bonkers. Like, we just couldn't make money doing that, but we can often bring more resources to bear than, a small 20-person pick and pack third-party supplier, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think what you've done, which is remarkably amazing, is when most people think of like staffing, they're not thinking of like the new hot tech startup or the new like fancy D2C. Like, the fact that you've been able to build such a cool culture, like in I want to use words that probably are not accurately describing, but like a stagnant industry or an established industry, or just kind of like an unsexy.
It's a legacy industry. It's
right?
been around a long time. Yeah, no, I get what you're
saying. Like how much of that has been part of the reason for your success and growth, having a brand that actually is cool? And
yeah, no, I think the brand is important. I think what we do, we've been pretty pro tech. We've tried to think creatively in how to acquire talent. There's a lot of just, I think stagnant's the right word, stagnant thinking about, candidate acquisition and things like that. And I think we've been willing to make the investments into some places by embracing a growth mindset, making mistakes, trying things that didn't work, spending a bunch of money that didn't go anywhere. We've all done it, right? And it helps us kind of understand what are the dead ends and what are the paths to victory. And so, yeah, no, I think it's been important. Like I said, a lot of our competitors are kind of sitting this out. They're not engaging with the marketplace, and you have to. And I think it's prime. It's what you just said. Doing that hard thing is what helps you compete and makes you stand out from the competition.
Yeah, and another thing that we talked about before we hit record was through volatility in the marketplace, there's always going to be opportunities. So I feel like we're feeling kind of an inflationary time period that's completely new to me because I didn't live through the 70s when it was pretty inflationary back then. And I just, I think about like, where are the opportunities? Like, where can you find a way to think creatively to solve the problems of consumers and, level up your business despite all the risk and the challenges? There's some kind of stat about how like during recessions and depressions is when you see the most, businesses start up, the most opportunities come up. So there's always going to be growth opportunities. One thing I wanted to go back to was when you talked about what was your core values around customers? Like
obsessed with customer success.
Yeah, obsessed with customer success. You guys really have two customers, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have your candidates and you have your companies that you
client
work with.
companies. Yeah.
Talk about like what is a strategy for serving both of those, for first of all attracting both of those different clients and then serving them. Are they two different strategies or are they
two completely different strategies? I mean, we've recently made a choice to engage in marketing much more on the candidate side. Traditionally, staffing has been a very analog business, and marketing has been kind of de-emphasized within. It's been a very sales-oriented, pound the pavement, kind of business, and marketing just hasn't been, I think, in most executives' mind as an important piece of the business. I heard one executive, huge company, very successful, said, marketing is sort of a hobby. It doesn't really do much for the business, but I really enjoy it. And I thought, man, that seems like an opportunity.
Yeah.
And so we've decided to really go after and spend the money to understand how our candidates are searching for work online, how we can reach them in many different channels, and making those investments. And marketing has come front and center. I mean, I've now, we're a small company, so I don't have a full-blown chief marketing officer, but we made the investment. We have a fractional CMO who's been phenomenal for us to really understand our metrics and understand what investments are paying off, which ones aren't. So on the candidate side, it's become very much a marketing play. And I took inspiration from companies like yours, where it was like, what are our candidate acquisition costs? How are we getting creative and reaching them? Is our messaging on point? So on and so forth. And then the client side, marketing is more of like sales enablement, making sure that they've got the swag, they've got the collateral, they need to get in front of the client. But that's still, we're still looking at that as a real sales oriented,
right,
pound the pavement piece of the business. So
yeah, it's really cool to dig into your business model because, you think about it, your candidates are your product.
Mm-hmm.
And the way for you to manufacture your product is by recruiting them,
mm-hmm.
like bringing them into the pool.
Mm-hmm.
How many, between your 5 businesses, how many candidates are you currently employing or working with, recruiting, are in the database?
Yeah. We've probably, in our database, we've probably got 35,000. It's growing all the time. We have right now, we're
35,000 people.
Yeah.
That's just bonkers.
Yeah.
Man.
And to get back to kind of marketing, I mean, one of the things that we do all the time with marketing is we're paying for people over and over and over again through the various channels. And one of the things that marketing has helped us understand is how that resource is just solid gold, right? We can dig into that database instead of going to Indeed or talent.com or spending on Google AdWords or whatever it is where we reach these people. We got them right in our back pocket.
Yeah.
And it's sort of obvious wisdom when you think about it, but in our industry, it's kind of new. And so really cultivating, really building that relationship, getting those reaches and spending the time to create those nurture tracks that touch those candidates, all the time so that they know we're here when they need us.
Yeah. So is email marketing a big part of that?
Email marketing. We do a lot of work around automations. Now we're employing some, I guess, bots to correspond and requalify candidates that are within the database. And that's been really valuable as well.
Are you able to grow quite rapidly through word of mouth and referral? Is that a big part of?
That's a big part of it. And that's something that's a point of emphasis right now, actually, is using that. I think just about half of everybody we place is through referral or word of mouth. And so how do we develop that more? Because it's really, really cheap.
Yeah.
And usually it creates the most satisfaction. There's the best outcomes come from that. So.
Yeah, they know what to expect, clear expectations. So you've got 35,000 candidates in the pool. How many of those are actually working?
Yeah, we've only got, right now, we're sitting between 400 and 500 staffing associates in the field.
So like your payroll is, you said 400 to 600 people.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty crazy as well. Like, what is the infrastructure that you need to build to be able to serve? To have that many employees. Like,
yeah,
they're your employees.
Yeah, there are W-2 employees. We're the employer of record. Yeah, I mean, we've got a back office team, payroll, accounting. They manage all of that. Each of the branches has what we call our employee relations coordinator, and they help us manage the payroll, help handle employee issues, things that come up, concerns, questions, whatever may arise. That's we have somebody in every branch and a back office team to support those folks. Yeah.
Yeah. So of these like 400 to 600, how many would you say like feel like they are also Atlas employees versus, a temp employee for the company they're working for?
Yeah, that's difficult to say. We'd like to place permanent team members. So we're always, when we're working with a client, our target market customer is really a client that wants to use staffing to augment and then to use that pool of people that work on site to draw from to be a part of their team. Yeah. So we see ourselves as a facilitator. There are certain, I think, employees that do see Atlas as their employer and are very loyal and stay with us for a long time. And, we work hard to make sure that they stay happy because, they're some of the most profitable placements we make.
Yeah.
Because they're really, redeployment is cheap and, they make money for us for a long, long time.
Do you get a commission if they hire?
Sometimes. So there's a couple different ways. You can do the temp to hire model, which generally it's, anywhere from 90 days to 6 months, depending on the price. And then if they fulfill that contract length, then you'd be able to hire them without an additional fee.
Okay.
And then if you wanted to go early, say you loved a candidate and you wanted to hire them early, then we negotiate a direct hire or a buyout fee if you want to start early.
Yeah,
that keeps the economics in line for us. Yeah.
Yeah. I think one of the things that I would like our listeners to know, like, when should they go to a staffing agency versus just trying to hire themselves? And like, what are the kind of the best case scenarios? And where should they probably avoid working with a staffing company?
Yeah. I think every business has to decide what activities within the business are core to who they are and what aren't, right? And I think if you're an e-commerce company, I think there are a lot of activities and functions within the business that are core. I haven't seen hiring be one of those. And so
I hate hiring.
Yeah.
I suck at it.
Yeah.
It's a huge resource set.
Yep.
I think it's easy just place an ad and hire whatever, but there's just, anyways, continue.
No, you're right. You're bad at it. You may think you're good at it, but often you're also bad at it because it's just, you don't know what you don't know because it's not what you do for a living. It's not what you're excellent at. You're excellent at marketing. You're excellent at logistics, whatever that is. Those are your core activities, the things that make you money. Hiring just isn't one of them. So I think if you make that determination that hiring isn't core to who you are as a business, then I think staffing makes sense. I mean, there's all kinds of staffing. If you have a logistics setup, you can use a light industrial staffing company. If you are looking for marketing talent, there are great search firms out there that specialize in marketing, and they have a vast network of high-performing people that they can tap into. Funny enough, I'm using staffing for my staffing business right now. We contract with a company that specializes in hiring staffing executives, and we're on a search for management level employees across the Western United States. And it's phenomenal. They're reaching people that we have for years tried to reach and haven't because they're set up to be really excellent at that. So I think if it's core to your business and you think you want it to be core, then you should do it. If it's not, outsource it.
Yeah.
And there's just a whole lot of benefits that come from that. You don't get distracted. You're staying focused on the things that make you money. And, we can tap into and bring resources to bear that you probably couldn't. It's a really cool arrangement.
A couple of things I wanted to follow up on that. Like, how competent are most staffing companies able to understand, like the Beard Brand core values? They've got to represent freedom, hunger, and trust. And, there's interview process that we have now. Would a staffing agency be able to understand that when they're searching for talent and kind of filtering through that process? Or is it essentially they're just going to bring candidates to me and then I have to go through the same hassle once they come to me?
It depends on the client. We experience all different levels of engagement from our client. If you want it to work well, you have to be a partner. So, our best clients, the ones we're most successful, that we have the lowest attrition at, are the ones that see us as an extension of their business. And they've spent the time with us. They've answered our questions. The worst clients are the ones that are just running around like chickens with their head cut off, too busy to do anything, and they give you no guidance, but they expect outcomes, and we'll just walk away from those ones.
You got to read their mind. Come on, Josh.
I know.
Like you haven't added that talent.
That is not a skill set I've developed yet. So.
Reading minds. Oh man. So the thing that I think is really important for entrepreneurs and leaders of companies to understand is like you are putting real resources into hiring. If you work with a staffing agency, there's going to be like a 20% premium that you would be paying for those services, essentially those services.
Yeah, it depends on the kind of staffing. So for us, we operate on a markup setup. So, we'll mark up anywhere from 50 to 70% on the wage, and that includes all of your built-in costs. So, that's not all margin for us. That would include your workers' comp costs. That would include all of your payroll taxes, all that stuff. Insurance. Yeah, exactly. So we're set up to do it that way. If you're looking for more professional roles, a lot of the search firms will do a fee, a percentage of annual salary. So the staffing company that I'm working with for my business, they're charging me 28% of annual salary. And, I'm happy to pay it because when you're talking about high-level talent, like don't skimp. Spend the money, get the right person, because really in the grand scheme of things, if they are who they say they are, then they'll make that money for you, right? So, yeah.
I don't know if you want to talk about how large you've grown at. Obviously, 5 locations. It's far larger than Beard Brand.
I don't know. Is it?
I think you're doing in the 8 figures, right?
Yeah, we did. So we're on a $20 million run rate. We have a goal of 28 this year.
Yeah, that's way bigger than Beard Brand.
Okay.
I just look bigger than we are.
Yeah, you got a better office.
It's just the barbershop. Like I've always talked to you, and the thing that I think the reason why we're friends is we both share, the growth mindset. You don't want to build just kind of like a lifestyle staffing agency. When we first became friends, you only had the Spokane location, and you've added 4 more. How many do you want to grow? Like 1 in every market? One on the West Coast?
So, we really don't want to be in California, although there was a company that was coming up for acquisition. I lost my mind for a minute and explored that opportunity, but we ended up not going with it.
So it's funny to think about. Like the state laws really do make a big impact.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I love California. It's a beautiful piece of real estate, but man, they make it hard to do business. And yeah, I think that's part of the reason why we exist too. We deal with a lot of that back end stuff that especially small operators don't have the infrastructure or the desire to deal with. And so in that sense, it's a service as well. But yeah, I think our growth, we want to be a $100 million company by 2030. We think that the markets that we're in will get us there. We see, in our Portland and Phoenix branches in particular, we see an opportunity to grow to multiple offices in those markets that can get us to that number. And then, from there, who knows? We'll have to reassess, but we're hyper-focused on that $100 million mark. And we want to do it in a certain way,
right?
Too. It's not just financial metrics that we're looking at. Our BHAG is about being world-class in our 3 main categories. So a wise man once told me, if business is done in the context of people, right? Everything we do within business is within the context of people. If you're not doing it that way, you're totally missing the point. And so, we think about our client company satisfaction, our talent satisfaction, the people we place, and then our internal employees satisfaction as really key metrics. And we want to be world-class. We want to achieve that $100 million mark, and we want to have world-class NPS scores, 70 plus, in all 3 of those categories when we do it.
What software are you using to manage those scores?
Yeah, the software is clearlyrated.com.
Okay.
So they used to be Innovero, and they do NPS measurements across many different industries, and it's become kind of the standard measurement for staffing companies.
Yeah. We use a software called Office Vibe, and it'll just send out weekly kind of surveys. And the participation rates, I assume, what kind of participation rates are you getting with those?
I think for our clients, which is the one we've done the longest, we're getting like close to 40%.
Okay.
Response rates, and that's where we perform the best. So I think we had like a 72 NPS score this last round. It's our 4th year in a row winning it. Talent, we've got work to do. It's light industrial's tough from a talent standpoint. It's just fraught. We work through a lot of stuff with our people, and so we have improvement to make there, but I think it's lower. I think we're like at 25% response. And then internally we get 90% responses, and we're, up in the high 80s, low 90s. And
do you nag people if they're consistently not replying to them to fill
we
them
don't
out?
know. So it's all anonymous.
Okay.
So we don't know who. We might post messages like, hey, we're missing a few. And then when it expires, and we go with the results. So
to me, it's like, if they want to give feedback, they give feedback. If they don't, they don't.
Yeah. I do think though, it's like we talked about mind reading again, still haven't developed that skill. So this is a really important piece of how we get feedback and learn about what is working and what's not working.
Yeah.
With our employees.
I just assume silence means they're thrilled beyond all relief.
Yeah. Let me know how that's working.
I just add those notes. I'll fill out your survey for you like my car dealer does.
Yeah. Is that your philosophy with your wife too? If silence is
silence,
she's
absolutely.
good. Yeah.
Dude, where can people buy some talent or reach out to you or connect with you?
Yeah, if you're looking to get in with some of our services in any of those markets, Phoenix, Portland, Spokane, Boise, and Central Washington, you can go to atlasstaffing.com and we can help you from there. There's really simple way to get set up. And if you're looking for work, we're always looking for great recruiters. You can make great money. It's a great industry with a great company. We'd love to talk to you.
And then, are you on Twitter?
I'm not.
Jeez.
I'm not a social guy, social media guy.
That's why I feel so lucky to have you on the show, man. I feel like nobody else would be able to get you on.
Nobody. This is the first podcast I've ever done.
Yeah, it's the first.
And maybe the last.
The best one you've ever done.
And the best, yeah, exactly.
All right, Josh. Of course, I always enjoy our time together. You're a good friend of mine. You've shared a lot of lessons along the way. You're somebody who inspires me to become a better entrepreneur, a better person. So thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your expertise. I hope our listeners enjoyed it as much as I did, because there's a lot of learned lessons that I have and the way you do business. So
awesome.
Thank you.
I appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Yep. This has been another e-commerce Conversations. Thanks for listening. Cheers. And keep on growing.